born around the world now, isn't there? There's all kinds of weird creatures being
Yeah, well,
born.
I talk about it in my article, Angels in the Flesh. And just as the Lord can incarnate his angels on earth to live as humans with specific jobs and responsibilities in the last days, Satan does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Satan can incarnate humans with his people. People don't realize that.
Does he never have an original idea of his own?
Yeah, I mean, whatever the Lord does, Satan mimics.
Right. So, getting back a little bit to the subject of incarnate people or incarnate angels, have you been informed of any other characters around? Like, for instance, do we have a Joshua and a Caleb, or to fight the giants in the last days, or do we have a Shem?
No, that's the government's rendition. They're trying so hard to infiltrate the true elect of the Lord's with all this stupidity. Like, I'll get IMs or emails from people, I'm Daniel incarnated. Really?
Right.
It's always the government, it's not the Lord.
So, I remember you telling us on your own radio show one Monday night that you had previous sort of experiences, you were granted a knowledge about some kind of previous experiences with the Watchers and the Watcher Rebellion. I remember you...
just from what the Lord has told me, and I've got a lot of it written down. Talk about some of it through Angels in the Flesh. Most people, if they are an incarnate being, he'll tell them their previous name, which is really interesting. You can get who was I? What was my name? And he'll reveal that to them.
Ah, is that connected to the revelational prophecies about having a new name written on a white stone or something?
Yeah, well, I've always believed that the elect and the bride are two different groups. The church groups it all together. I believe that they're two different groups. The elect is the 144,000 because they won't be deceived, can't be deceived. The Lord takes them up. They come back to earth. And the bride itself is one that he has to chasten and take through the fire to christen. The bride itself is the group that will come out of churchianity, dummianity, I call it. The ones that will come out of the churches that are his. And that's a number that no man can number. The elect itself is a very specific group. It's 144,000. And so you have two different groups. You have the elect and the bride.
It stuns me, really, to think that there are so many millions of Christians that are looking forward to this massive rapture. And they all think they're going to avoid the purification process.
Yeah, well, there's in Revelation chapter 6, the fifth seal, where no man can number the number of the souls under the altar of heaven that have been beheaded because of their belief in Christ and in Yahushua. That doesn't seem to instigate, and churches will tell you, well, that's all the believers that come to the Lord after the rapture.
Oh, right.
Really?
How useful.
And the only way that they can even come up with the rapture theory is by twisting and manipulating even Paul's verses, and we know he was a manipulator and a twister, and so they use Paul to try to come up with these rapture theories. And now the Lord does tell the Apostle John in Revelation that he will protect the Church of Philadelphia during the hour of temptation on earth. The hour of temptation on earth is not the entire time of the tribulation period. It's a specific time within the tribulation period. He will protect the church during that time. And so what is the hour of temptation? And that's when the Satan enforces the mark of the beast on the world. He will protect the Church of Philadelphia at that time. And it's not the literal Philadelphia city. It's symbolic.
Right.
I know that there's some people in Philadelphia, PA, going, this is the church, and it's hysterical. They have to be government. They're too stupid to be otherwise.
I suppose if every church knew just how many infiltrators they've had, it'd be quite horrified.
Well, look how many have already fallen for the best ones out there. Joel Osteen, Benny Hinn, Kenneth Hagin. I mean, these guys were Masons, they're Satanists, they're loyal to Satan, and look how full the churches are every Sunday. They haven't fooled the people now. They haven't, people keep saying, I won't be deceived while they're sitting in Joel Osteen's church or Benny Hinn's.
Well,
Kenneth Copeland, Jesse Duplantis.
Well, apart from Benny Hinn, my
Look at all the
favourite.
millions who aren't deceived.
My favourite one has to be Robert Schuller.
Yeah, there's another one. He's about as wicked as they come.
I mean,
he got his Crystal Cathedral in California. He had the plans approved by the Vatican before he even built it.
Yeah, and I wonder where he got the money. Jesuits, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Jesuit. Jack Van Impe, people follow him galore. He's a Jesuit. Hal Lindsey's always worked a Jesuit agenda. They all have an agenda. That whole TBN network is owned by the Masons here in America, and TBN, I don't know if you guys have it over there, we call it the Beast Network, and they just do religious programming all day long with all their little beast prophets. It's a big business here. It's a big deception here. And, you get on the internet and you'll often hear these people from Africa saying, oh, we need somebody to come over here to Africa and teach us. And they want Benny Hinn and Hagen. It's like, you don't want these people. They're just going to lie to you, take your money, and con you.
It's quite scary, really, when Christendom has a figure like Benny Hinn going to Africa. You have like over 1 million people crowd around the stadium. They give whatever they got, which is probably next to nothing, and Benny Hinn puts it all in his pocket, flies away, and says thank you very much. Yeah.
The one, I think it was in Kenya a couple of years ago, in '88 or '98 or something, where it took them 3 days to count all the money they raked in.
Disgusting, really.
And then he went back, and it was a disaster because these people were finally waking up.
It's amazing. I'm stunned, really, the fact that anybody's still going to his meetings and listening to him at all.
Well, you know what? Africa's very important to them. Ethiopia is going to be a stomping ground for Maitreya when he comes. Kenya has already been. He's been to Kenya. He'll make an appearance in Ethiopia because those countries are getting highly Muslim now. And so they plan on bringing out a duplicate copy of the Ark of the Covenant, I believe, out of Ethiopia, and trying to state, oh, we found the Ark of the Covenant, now we can rebuild the temple. It's almost a charade. They come out of Ethiopia.
That would explain all the rumours about that kind of story for the last couple of decades.
Yeah.
Your prophetic work, I mean, seeing as we're talking about prophecies and things, it seems that your prophetic work seemed to mostly come about through diligent study, while most other people who claim to be prophets come to them via what the church calls quickenings. I, for one, have never witnessed any testing of the spirits in the churches, so if any of these church so-called prophets are listening, what advice could you give the church prophet to ensure that they are really hearing from the Creator?
Leave the church.
Well, that was short and sweet.
Leave the church. The Lord's been pulling his people out of them for years, those who can hear. They're not his churches. How many churches today, you wouldn't have any idea, but I'll give you an idea. That in most of the churches in America that you walk in, they're going to see a picture of Sananda hanging on the wall somewhere. Or you're going to be given a bulletin of the events for that service of that day, and it's going to have some picture of Satan on it, the Sananda. They're not the Lord's churches, they're Satan's. People got Satan all over the churches, and you see these steeples that are up, these steeples that are representations, symbolisms of Satan's penis. Some people call it an upside-down witch hat, but obelisks are an image representation of Satan's genitalia. And so all these churches have these steeples on them. It's just disgusting over here. Churchianity is literally disgusting. And so if people really want to learn who the Lord is and get into the truth, they need to leave Satan's playgrounds and just go sit at the Lord's feet.
Well, the last Sunday meeting I ever had in my local church was a Christmas morning. I went there one morning, and they had a huge, great Christmas tree in the church. And that
yeah, and what's Jeremiah say about it? He talks about pagan customs, of how they were decorating trees and lights. And he goes on and talks about Christmas trees, and they bring them into the churches.
It seems to be the most avoided subject in Christendom, Christmas.
That's